Hello, and thank you for joining me today. Today is the third in the Nutrition for Those with Cancer education series, and we're going to be talking about optimizing nutrition, so cooking and meal planning tips for cancer patients. So this presentation was brought to you by the American Cancer Society and the Maryland Proton Treatment Center. And just as a reminder, this content is intended for educational purposes only. It's not a substitute for personalized professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you have any questions about the information presented here, please talk to your medical team for personalized recommendations. And before we begin, if you've seen the prior two presentations, this is a little bit repetitive, but I do want to introduce the Maryland Proton Treatment Center, the American Cancer Society, and myself. The Maryland Proton Treatment Center is the only center in Maryland to offer proton therapy. It's a highly advanced and precise form of radiation to treat cancer. We are the most experienced proton center in the region, and we opened in 2016. And since then, our center has treated more than 2,500 people and trained more than 200 medical professionals, and that number is growing every day. And you can learn more about proton treatment at mdproton.com. And then the American Cancer Society is a nationwide community-based voluntary health organization. They do so much to help eliminate cancer through promoting healthy lifestyles, cancer research, fighting for policy change, and providing lots of resources for those with cancer and those touched by cancer. And they do provide assistance with transportation, advocacy, cancer information, and lodging. And if you haven't been to their website, cancer.org, I highly encourage you to go there. There's tons of great resources on their site. And then just to introduce myself, I am Emily Bozzell. I am the clinical nutritionist there at the Maryland Proton Treatment Center. I'm a registered dietitian, a licensed dietitian nutritionist in the state of Maryland. I'm a board certified specialist in oncology nutrition, and I'm also a certified nutrition support clinician. So we'll start just by going over some basic nutrition overviews during active treatment. And we are going to be talking today about both active treatment tips and survivorship tips. During active treatment, the main goal, we are preventing malnutrition. This is going to allow you to better tolerate those treatment side effects, help you to maintain nutrient stores, help you to heal and recover from treatment, feel better, and lower the risk of infections. So in order to kind of prevent malnutrition and prioritize these things, we're prioritizing calories, we're emphasizing protein. So protein and calories is where it's at when we're undergoing active treatment. Survivorship nutrition, and so this does encompass, these are kind of cancer and chronic disease preventative nutrition recommendations. These recommendations are for those that have not had cancer, have never had cancer, that are just trying to prevent cancer, prevent chronic diseases. And then once you're finished with cancer treatment, the survivorship nutrition is to go back to that cancer prevention, chronic disease prevention nutrition recommendations, which is for a plant-based diet. So we're focusing on variety, color, plant-based foods. We want to aim for 2/3 of our plate to be plant-based foods. So fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole grains, all those good plant foods. And then 1/3 or less of animal foods. And that really is all that the plant-based diet means. Doesn't mean that you have to be vegetarian, vegan, any of those other things. Those are certainly fine if you choose to do that. But it's just keeping, that animal protein, the animal foods less than 1/3 on the plate. All right, and then a little nutrition 101, just so we understand, when I'm making recommendations for certain foods, the why behind it. So where does our energy come from? Our energy is calories. Calories are energy. And calories come from fats, protein, and carbohydrates. So these fats, protein, and carbohydrates are referred to as macronutrients. So they're the bigger things that are providing the calories in our diet. And you can see here, in this little table, fat provides 9 calories per gram. Protein provides about 4 calories per gram, and carbohydrates provide about 4 calories per gram. So fat is providing a lot more calories, so a lot more energy per gram than protein or carbohydrates. But all of these are important in our diet. So talking about fats for just a minute, so they provide the most calories per gram, which just means it's the most energy in the smallest package. So we can add a little bit of fat and add a lot of calories. And then fats are an important energy source. They also help us to feel full. They help to protect our organs. When we absorb, we need a certain amount of fat in our body. They help us to absorb fat soluble vitamins. They produce hormones. This is just a very small, basic list of what fats do in our bodies. Fats do a lot of different things. Proteins. So proteins are the building blocks for our cells. Proteins are made up of amino acids, and some amino acids our bodies can make, and others we have to get through the diet. Um, Adequate protein is essential for wound healing, maintenance of muscle, so keeping up your strength, maintaining fluid balance, and immune functions, among many others. And then carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are the body's main source of energy and preferred fuel source. They help the body spare protein and fat for being used for energy, so that it can be used for other purposes. So, like we just talked about, if you're not getting enough carbohydrates, enough energy in that way, your body is going to be utilizing fat. It's going to be using protein for energy, which is fine in some cases, but if we need that protein to help heal wounds, or we need that protein to help maintain muscle mass and help maintain strength, we need to make sure that we're getting enough calories in, so we can spare the protein that we're consuming for those functions. And then fiber is a carbohydrate that is really important in digestion. It helps us to feel full. All right. And then these are other nutrients, vitamins and minerals. So those are the micronutrients in our diet. And then water as well plays a vital role in the body and our nutrition status. And then phytonutrients are those plant compounds that may help prevent disease. So all plant foods have these different phytonutrients in them. This is why you'll hear a lot, eat the rainbow, and those sorts of things. You're getting lots of different phytonutrients in. All right. So jumping in first, we're going to talk about optimizing nutrition during active treatment. So this is if you're getting ready to start treatment or you're currently undergoing treatment. These are some tips for you. So we really want to work on making sure we're getting in adequate calories. So how we do that a lot of times is by boosting up those calories. And the easiest way to do that is by adding fats. So fats have a lot of calories and it adds very minimal volume. So oftentimes it can be hard to eat during treatment. Maybe your appetite isn't as good. Eating's a little bit of a struggle. It's hard to eat just a lot more volume, a lot more food. But what we can do is we can add a drizzle or a spoonful of some of these different things that have some fat and some calories to them and just boost up whatever you are eating. So an example of that would be olive oil, avocado oil. If you're having a soup, for example, just an easy little way to really increase the calories, do a little drizzle of olive oil over the top. Avocados, guacamole, cream, half and half. Any of the full fat dairy products or full fat coconut milk is great, nut and seed butters, and other sauces and things that have fat in them. So this is just a little way to kind of boost up what you're already eating. A lot of times during treatment, we do say, prioritize those higher calorie foods. But even if you're, doing something that has lower calories, like vegetables, roasted vegetables, make sure you're getting in that extra drizzle of some sort of fat. And then emphasizing protein. So protein is so important during treatment. We want to aim to get some source of protein in each meal, usually during treatment. Good sources would be meats, poultry, seafood, eggs, nut butters, seeds, legumes, dairy products, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, milk, dry skim milk powder, all these things. And you can also consider protein shakes. Some, you can either make your own or there are a lot of options out there. And I would, say always, double check with your team, ask to meet with a dietitian. They can give you a better recommendations for exactly what would work best for you. But some common ones that, have more complete proteins, the whey, pea protein, soy protein, or hemp protein. Bone broth can be great as a soup base or just to sip on if you're not tolerating a lot of things. Bone broth is not very high in calories. It's just a broth, but it does have a lot more protein content than just a traditional broth or stock. And you can add dry milk powder. So this is kind of a similar concept to kind of a protein powder, but dry milk powder you can get at the store. And you can add that into smoothies, yogurts, mashed potatoes, soups. And you can also make double strength milk. So this is where you take whole milk, you take 4 cups or a quart, and you add in a cup of dry milk powder. Stir that up and then use that. You can use it anywhere you would use regular milk. You can drink it. You can add it as a smoothie base. Use it in your mashed potatoes, your soups, those sorts of things. But what that does is it really concentrates the protein. So you're adding that dried milk powder that has that extra protein, and you're adding it into the whole milk that already has calories and protein as well. And then layer it on. So this is a technique where we're adding in extra calories. So we're starting with a thin layer of fat, add additional fats, and then hopefully add some proteins or some additional flavor items if you can tolerate that. So some examples of this layered on would be toast. So if you're making a piece of toast, drizzle a little bit of oil on it, then top it with some avocado, then top it with some egg. Or an example, with peanut butter toast, spread it with butter first before you put the peanut butter on. So you're really loading up on those fatty foods. That's the calories right there. That's what we want. Pasta, toss it with olive oil, then top it with some sort of sauce. And then you can top it with some protein. Same thing with veggies. Roast them, drizzle them with lots of olive oil, avocado oil, and then you could top it with cheese, hemp seeds, nuts, whatever. Smoothies, start with that fat, high protein base, the double milk, or whole milk, a little splash of half and half, whey protein powder, layer in nut butter, flax seeds could be good. You can drizzle in neutral flavored oils. As well. So a lot of different vegetable oils, canola oil. My favorite is just an extra light olive oil. It has minimal flavor to it. It's just really neutral tasting. You can blend that into a smoothie, add that into a soup. So just these little things, a little bit goes a long way when it comes to fat in terms of boosting up the calories. And oftentimes it's just a couple hundred calories that can, make or break between you maintaining weight, gaining weight, or losing weight throughout treatment. So we definitely want to help support our body get in those calories. And then I recommend lots of snacks during active treatment. So this is more for people that are struggling to eat. You might find that eating a whole meal is overwhelming. And so finding shelf stable snacks, and then we'll go into some fresh snack ideas. A meal, when we say it's very common, eat by the clock, or, have a meal or a snack every 2 to 3 hours throughout the day, just to make sure you're getting a little something in you throughout the day. A lot of those meals end up looking like snacks, and that's okay. So protein bars, especially softer ones, if you're having trouble with chewing or swallowing, banana or apple with peanut butter, it's very easy. Trail mix with nuts, dried fruits, seeds, fruit and yogurt pouches. They make some shelf-stable versions of those. Protein shakes, nut butter packets, crackers. I always do encourage packing snacks for treatment days. It's always a good thing to do. Keep some, pack a little bag each day whenever you're going for treatment. If you're going for radiation treatment, it can be a lot. That's every day, typically. And, if you're going for chemotherapy once a week, you're there for a good amount of time. So anytime you have appointments or appointment days, try to throw some shelf-stable options, in a bag to take with you, just so you have something. We never want the fact that you're going to treatment to interfere and to limit your ability to get food in. And of course, you may have some restrictions depending on where we're treating. If, people have told you to avoid eating before treatment, follow those recommendations per your team. But it is good to have something on you for right after treatment if you can tolerate it. Some other good options, nut butter sandwiches or seed butter sandwiches, dry cereal, roasted chickpeas or edamame, and then oatmeal packets are great as well. Most places do have hot water available, so you can mix them kind of anywhere. And then some fresh snack ideas, cheese, fruit, crackers, hard-boiled eggs, deviled eggs, any of these, egg, chicken, tuna salad, cereal with milk, smoothies, shakes, hummus, or guacamole, so some soft sort of dip with veggies or pita bread. yogurts, parfaits, cottage cheese, puddings, custard, homemade energy bites. There's a lot of different options out there. And I always say as well, if it sounds good, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. Pick the things that speak to you and that you would normally eat. A lot of times during treatment, kind of the more bland foods, cold foods, room temperature foods tend to be better tolerated. But you know your body best. So whatever, sounds best, that's what I would recommend. And then meal preparation. So some of my favorite things to do is to prepare and help my patients prepare. Treatment can be a lot. Fatigue is very, very common. That's one of the number one side effects we see. And then treatment days can be it's a lot getting to your appointment, waiting for treatment, getting home. So sometimes you don't always have the energy to want to cook meals or make meals. So something that can really help you out is first, getting those snacks in line, having some prepared, but also, doing a little prep. So soups and stews tend to be well tolerated. Pick ones that you enjoy. They're really easy to batch cook, and you can either, keep some in your fridge and just take out portions throughout the week. You can also, this little blue tray here, you can see you can use a regular ice tray as well, but it makes it really easy to portion out, freeze it, and then you can pop those out, store them in your freezer in a freezer bag, and just pop out and reheat a single serve portion. So that makes that really, really easy, and you don't have to worry about it going bad. And then same thing with smoothies and shakes. You can whip up your smoothie or your shake that you like. You can freeze that then into ice cube trays, and then just pop it out really quickly so you don't have to worry about getting out, the nut butter and the oil and the flax seeds and all of the different components each time you're making a shake. You can just have your pre-made smoothie cubes, add in a little liquid and blend it up quickly. I've seen people too just do baggies without blending it up of the smoothie things, just individual packs that are easy to pop in. And so that's good too. Um, just anything that can make your life easier, um, and help you to actually, make that smoothie, heat up that cup of soup, anything, that is helping you to actually eat is what we want to do. And then stacking up on some minimal prep items from the grocery store. So instant noodles, instant mashed potatoes, raviolis, cream sauces, cream-based soups, oatmeals. These are all pretty like bland, neutral things. So just things that are really easy, and that you're going to actually be able to make on a day where you really don't feel like making anything. And then of course, casseroles or even just prepping individual bland components. A batch of rice, some cooked poultry that's just cold in there that you could pull out, mashed potatoes, things that are just really bland, and tolerable for you, depending on what your symptoms look like. And if you haven't seen the last two talks, one was on survivorship and one was on managing side effects during treatment. There's some other good tips in there for during treatment. And then make a plan. So things to ask yourself when thinking about prepping: what symptoms do you currently have? So this is going to depend on your cancer, your treatment. What symptoms can you expect? So depending on where you are in your treatment, are you going into radiation treatment? That's what I work with mostly. And week 2 to 3, you're going to start experiencing certain side effects. Or are you not expecting to see certain side effects? And you can always ask your doctor or meet with a dietitian to get a better idea of what a normal progression would look like during treatment. What foods currently sound good? And then what foods are you currently tolerating well? So do you kind of already have some go-to items? And how could we make it easier on you to get in tolerable foods, foods that still sound good, and just make it nice and easy for you if you do start experiencing fatigue or you're busy running around to different appointments. Meal plan, it might be more snack type foods. That's okay, especially during treatment. Eating every few hours throughout the day is a great thing to do. And so keep those tolerable items stocked and just easy to grab. All right, so now we're going to go into kind of optimizing nutrition and survivorship. Um, And I will say, if you are someone that is going through treatment and you are experiencing minimal side effects, you're eating well, your weight is stable, your appetite's there, you can continue to follow these survivorship nutrition principles. That's definitely encouraged. We just normally like to make the diet during active treatment as liberalized as possible. Cancer and cancer treatment really limits your ability to eat well. It can be enough of a struggle. So we like to focus just on getting you through treatment, preventing malnutrition. But certainly, if you're feeling up to it and you're not having side effects, definitely you can continue to follow these even throughout treatment. So building a plate, this is the New American Plate. It's from the American Institute for Cancer Research. And I love this graphic. It's just a really easy visual way to make sure you're following that plant-based diet principle, which is 2/3 or more of your plant being plant-based foods. So vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and beans on your plate, and then 1/3 or less of animal protein. And I do encourage you, aim for variety where you can, add colors and flavors where you can. And the variety, it doesn't have to be each meal. It's just over the week, over the month, try to challenge yourself, eat some different things if you can. Easy meal ideas. So some easy things, ways to get dinner on the table. Look for slow cooker meals, sheet pan meals, one pan meals, stir fry meals. So things that don't dirty a lot of dishes and they're really easy. You can try batch cooking. So that's something that can make it easy to mix and match throughout the week. Where you cook, one or two types of protein, one or two types of grains. So maybe, you make a batch of chicken, and a batch of some sort of bean that you like, some brown rice, some whole grain pasta, and then, some different types of vegetables that you roast off. And you can kind of mix and match throughout the week. You can always plan for leftovers. So the cook once, eat twice. To get you through the week. And then some easy ways to add more veggies, some breakfast ideas, egg bake with vegetables, vegetable and protein hash, baked oatmeal with added fruits and vegetables, overnight oats or chia pudding. Some of my favorite veggies to add in would be, grated carrot, grated zucchini, even chopped up cauliflower does really well. Think about where you could add some different vegetables or some different chopped up fruits in your, oatmeal or overnight oats. And then easy lunch ideas, dinner leftovers. So that's an easy way to do it. And then other simple soups with some good protein, beans, veggies, salads with added cooked proteins, and you can make it more filling by adding nuts, seeds, fruits, cooked whole grains. So just lots of different things that you can do to get more plants in your diet. And here are just some different, when I, am planning out different meals, I do like to think about the different components. So, picking a protein, and definitely I would encourage you to, try to get at least one meal or more with some plant-based proteins. Um, Pick some produce, so make sure you're getting in lots of good produce. Starch, so this could be a whole grain, this could be a starchier vegetable. Fat, a healthy fat source, and then add in some flavors as well. Spices and herbs do provide lots of phytonutrients as well in our diet. So if you tolerate them, definitely add them in. So this is just kind of a general formula to help you make sure that you're balancing and getting in a variety. So just some examples, some chickpeas could be your protein, spinach and tomatoes could be your produce, brown rice could be the starch here, add in some olive oil, some curry powder, and, make a really delicious and filling dinner. We have some salmon, zucchini and yellow squash, a baked sweet potato. We could, use some avocado oil for cooking and use a little oregano and garlic for seasoning. So just think ways to think about when you are planning out meals, if you're coming up with recipes on your own, how to kind of structure your plate a little bit, and make sure that the produce, we want more of that in terms of volume, but the plant-based foods, we just want to make sure that they're at least 2/3 of the plate. Okay. And then make a plan. So meal planning can be very, very valuable in making sure that we're eating, consistent with our goals. So kind of ask yourself, what meals are you already eating, more plant-based for? Are you doing great with your dinner meals or your lunch meal, but you're struggling with, one meal of the day? Are you all in all pretty consistent with following the plant-based diet guidelines? Um, what would work best for you? So some people find that just keeping the right options in their pantry and freezer and kind of figuring it out is easiest for them. Some people find making a weekly plan with all of their meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks, everything planned out, makes it really easy for them. Other people like a little more flexibility, just like to plan on dinner meals. And other people make a full like monthly meal plan. And you can also, something that is fun is finding daily themes that could help guide recipes. So I always think about Taco Tuesday or Meatless Monday, those sorts of things. It really is whatever works best for your lifestyle, your goals, and kind of how you're already eating. And then there are a lot of different resources out there that can help you if you're having trouble coming up with recipes or planning your meals, but you're looking to cook more at home. And these is not an endorsement of these apps. These are just some of the ones that I found that are out there. There are some free options: Pepper Plate, Zipless, Yumly, and then there are paid options: Plan to Eat, eMeals, Cook Smarts, Paprika, where you can actually select your different plans. They'll come up with weekly recipes for you. And some of these services will even give you a grocery shopping list and send it to a site if you are, purchasing your groceries through a service. So very cool options. And then of course you can always just use a pen and paper or, word processor. So do what works best for you. Everybody's a little different in, how much they want to cook. And so finding things that are easy and finding solutions that will work best for you, only you know what's going to work best. All right, so pantry and freezer stocking for success. So this is both whether you're under active treatment, survivorship. I highly encourage you to look in your pantry, look in your fridge, look in your freezer, and make sure you're setting yourself up for success. If you're trying to eat more plant-based foods and you're not keeping them stocked, it can be challenging. So convenience items, frozen vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. I love frozen vegetables, fruits, and kind of the pre-cooked whole grains. Makes things really, really easy to throw together a meal. Low sodium canned beans and vegetables, shelf stable cooked whole grains, and then also raw whole grains. So, they make a lot of different whole grain cooked brown rice packets, for example, that are shelf stable, or, raw, rice that you cook, whole grain pastas, oats, all of those sorts of things are just great to keep in your pantry. Dried beans and rice takes a little bit longer to cook than the canned version, but depending on, what you value more. The dried products are typically a little cheaper. The cooked products, the canned, are still very, very cost effective. So it just, depends on what you're looking for. Canned tomato sauces and other tomato products, look for without added sugar if you can. And then canned or pouch pureed or chopped fruits in their own juice. Dried fruits are still good. Low sodium broths and stocks, nuts and seeds, and then canned proteins like tuna or salmon. So if you have some of these things stocked in your pantry, and these are all really cost-effective options, you can make some really great plant-based meals, survivorship meals. Um, Produce storage. So storing fruits and vegetables properly can help them stay fresh much longer, and it helps prevent oxidation and the breakdown of nutrients. Um, Frozen foods are typically flash frozen soon after harvest, so that does preserve a lot of nutrients in them. So they are very nutritious still. And then, of course, fresh and local produce may contain more nutrients since there's less time for those nutrients to break down from when they're harvested to when they're consumed typically. So they don't have to undergo a really long journey. So just some things to think about. I didn't include it on here, but you can find a lot of different produce storage guides online. And I encourage you, if you haven't looked at that before, check that out, because storing your produce the right way, either in the fridge or on certain things belong on the countertop. Certain things don't get stored together, but looking into those details can make a big difference in terms of how long your produce lasts. And certainly, we want it to be as fresh as long as possible. So some easy ideas for pantry freezer meals. And these are not always the most exciting meals, but they are tasty, and they do fit that criteria. Same sort of mindset. We need a protein. We need to get in some produce. We want a starch of some sort, and ideally it's coming from a whole grain, some sort of healthy fat, and then a flavor component. So you can see, if you have some chickpeas or some black beans, we could get certain canned diced tomatoes, frozen spinach, frozen peppers and onions. Just mix it with some brown rice. You could use some frozen corn, some healthy fats, and then some, spices from your pantry. So we can make a really filling meal that has lots of plant-based foods, lots of fiber, lots of phytonutrients, just by, pantry and freezer staples. All right. And then into some cooking stuff. So cooking methods, we really want to aim to be baking, roasting, broiling, stir frying, steaming, boiling, poaching. As much as possible, we do want to avoid deep frying, pan frying in lots of oil, smoking foods, and then grilling. I put in parentheses down here meat. So grilling meats, especially high temperature, can create some carcinogenic compounds, heterocyclic amines. So we do recommend, as much as possible, use the other methods. That being said, it's not like you can never use these methods. It's just you want to limit them. You want to choose them less often. Fat and fat soluble vitamins. So this is just kind of optimizing that cooking a little bit more. When you are cooking things that have fat soluble vitamins in them, which vitamin A, D, E, and K, they need fat to be absorbed in our body. You want to make sure you're adding fats. So sweet potatoes, carrots, squash, eggs, mushrooms, spinach, Swiss chard, asparagus, kale, mushrooms. There's a whole lot of different things here. Adding a small amount of healthy fats while cooking, or after the fact, just drizzle it on after, helps those vitamins to be absorbable. Fats also help to add flavor, can make foods feel more filling, more satiating. And don't stress. An easy thing to do is just make sure when you're building those plates, you are having some sort of healthy fat source at each meal. It helps to just make sure you're absorbing everything that you're putting on the plate. And then water soluble vitamins. So water soluble vitamins, so the B vitamins, vitamin C, they are sensitive to heat, especially high temperature, long cooking, and water. So if you're boiling, broccoli for a really, really long time, a lot of those water soluble vitamins can be degraded, and they can also leach out into that water. Not that you can't ever boil your broccoli, but if you are going to boil vegetables, you can either try keeping that liquid, using it for soup stock, adding it to sauces, using it to mash up the veggies. And you can also try, quicker cooking of your veggies, try stir frying, try steaming. And then, of course, certain nutrients are increased by cooking. So we want to get a variety in. My favorite example of this is, tomatoes. So tomatoes do contain vitamin C, which is great. So if you're eating tomatoes raw, you're getting in vitamin C. But if you cook them, say in a tomato sauce, you're stewing them for a long time, especially with a little added fat, it increases the amount of lycopene, which is a phytonutrient in them. So, sometimes by cooking foods, you get more phytonutrients, or you can increase absorbability or bioavailability of certain nutrients, and sometimes you lose some. So, eating a variety is always the way to go, and not stressing too much about the cooking method. And then complementary proteins. So some plant-based proteins, nuts, legumes, grains, vegetables, they can be lacking one or more of those essential amino acids. So remember in the beginning, amino acids make up proteins, and Some of them our bodies can make, and others we have to get through our diet. So the ones that we have to get through our diet are called essential amino acids. And so what we want to do is we want to get a variety of plant-based proteins. So we're ensuring that we're getting all of the essential amino acids. And good combinations would be rice and beans, hummus and whole wheat crackers, whole wheat bread and peanut butter. And you don't have to pair these proteins together at each meal, even if they're incomplete proteins. We just want to get a variety of plant-based proteins throughout the day, throughout the week. And there are some complete plant-based proteins, which means that they have all of those essential amino acids. So quinoa, amaranth, buckwheat, chia seeds, hemp seeds, soy products are complete proteins. All right. So in summary, so some of the key points here, key takeaways, cooked versus raw versions of foods, they do provide different levels of certain nutrients and they can impact bioavailability. Both are nutritious. So, don't stress too much about how you're cooking foods. Just get a variety of those plant-based foods in. You will get plenty of nutrients no matter what forms or methods of cooking you choose if you're eating a variety and you're following that plant-based diet structure. Keep in mind the big picture, okay? Not every meal has to be perfect. It's just the consistency over time, okay? Frozen foods are a great option to add in more plant-based foods while being convenient and cost-effective. Local foods are also a great option as well. I say choose what is financially and geographically accessible to you. So, any plants that you're getting in your diet, that's a good thing, okay? And focus on what to add. Focus on, as much as you can, variety, color, balance, okay? And set yourself up for success. Make things easy on yourself. Consider preparing items ahead of time, stocking your pantry, helping yourself to support your goals. And then some resources here. So some cookbooks. These are some great options. This little picture here, this is from the American Cancer Society's website, and they have a lot of really great resources and cookbooks. So definitely check those out. And then some other websites for resources, cancer.org, of course, eatright.org, choosemyplate.gov, cancerdietitian.com also has great recipes. So, check these out. Find some recipes, find some cookbooks that you like, or, just go through and think about what recipes you're really drawn to, what things you really enjoy eating, and see, where can you add some more plants to that? How can you balance it out a little bit more? All right. And then for more information about proton therapy or the Maryland Proton Treatment Center, you can always visit mdproton.com or you can call 410-442-6486. And then for more information about the American Cancer Society and their resources, please visit www.cancer.org or call 1-800-227-2345. And then for prior presentation recordings, you can check those out. And for this recording at tinyurl.com /nutrition recordings. So all of the class series will be up there. And then for additional resources and the slides, you can access those at tinyurl.com /mptc-nutrition. And then any questions or concerns, you can always also reach out to me at Emily, EMILY, Bozzell, BOZZELL @umm.edu. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you got some good tips and definitely check out those other prior presentations on survivorship nutrition and managing side effects if you haven't gotten a chance to watch those yet. Thank you. Have a great day.